This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to DC South Asian Film Festival 2022. Now, one of the very special things about DCSAFF films is the variety of voices they bring us. Now, they don't all sound alike and they don't all agree with each other, just like our audience. But again, just like our audience, each one has this common thread of humanity. That's the foundation of who we are. All too often, though, we tend to focus on the differences in our voices and on what's being said. Now, this can make us feel vulnerable. And to protect ourselves, we build these walls, right? To keep out those, what we perceive as attacking or offending differences. Today, we get to explore with some very, very talented people how easily this happens, even between the best of friends. Their film, Tasalli, introduces us to two best friends, Somesh and Ranjan, who had a falling out over a political post and let those walls build. I love the film for its sensitivity and objectivity. There is, and all of this is a craft that goes into the creation process. And today, we're especially lucky to get an insight into that process through the eyes not only of its director, Tarun Dudeja, screenwriter Sajal Kumar, but also the lead actors Nakul Mehta and Naveen Kasturia, and the creative producer Nikhil Taneja, who's also the CEO and co-founder of its production house, UA Originals. Welcome to all of you. It is such a pleasure and honor to have you with us to share your insights.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I'm going to start off, Sajal, with you. Every film begins with a concept, a story. We know you for some great entertaining stories you've brought to the screen, like the short film, When You Meet Your Ex. Again, people meeting after a while. You've done all the episodes of Hum Saaf Saaf Hain. In its own way, each one is exploring human relationships and vulnerabilities. What drew you to, and how did you come up with Tasalli Se? And what were the next steps in bringing it all together?
I think this story is very reflective of the times we are living in. It's something that all of us are living around to different extents. We are experiencing it. And unfortunately, I'm also one of those who had some personal experience in this regard. And that has been there in my mind. And basically, through this film, what I wanted to talk about was this polarization, which is, reflective of these times. So it was just that idea that it stayed there, and we got an opportunity to pitch a short film idea, and we had that internal discussion. We discussed it. The platform, the partner platform, which was Mini TV, they liked it a lot, and then one step led to another. There was a set of discussion that happened between me and Nikhil. I mean, development reached a certain level with that. And then Tarun, the director, came in, and then a lot of development happened after that. There was a lot of restructuring of the way the conversation flowed that happened. And then the wonderful actors came in, and then at every stage, there was a lot of feedback, and all the feedback was actually very, very constructive, very, very useful. And it just kept progressing. So that's the way it flowed.
So, how did you choose Tarun? Tell us a little bit about the background, for example, to direct this concept. And then Nakul and Naveen, and whoever did the casting, wonderful job. How did you find just the right people?
I think Nikhil should answer that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm so glad that you said that the casting was done so well. But I'll first speak about Tarun. Tarun and I, when I was working at Yashraj Films, Tarun had come with a script of a series that unfortunately did not get made at that time. But the writing that I saw from Tarun, I was just it was so refreshing, so honest, and so fun, so endearing. with so much humanity in it. And I was really blown away that, there are writers out there who are somehow not been able to make their screenwriting debuts, but have these incredible stories to offer. Could not work with him there, but I always wanted to work with him through, it took me 5 years, 6 years, during the course of which Tarun was able to make a short film that I was tried to get involved with, did not get time to, but then when finally when I got an opportunity to make one of our own, I knew that there's no one better than Tarun to kind of go and uh, speak to for him, and he was really generous. Even though he had a film coming up, a feature film, he was very generous and decided to come on board. Nakul and Naveen are two people that I love, in very different ways, and since a very long time. Nakul is someone who I have admired, respected, looked up to for the voice that he brings. Again, I met him at Twire. All of these folks I've actually met at Yash Raj in the course of the work. And Nakul just is the most giving person. And for me, I've always just been so amazed at the fact that in spite of the stardom that he has, does he stay so humble and so grounded and so incredibly nice. And when we had a human story to tell, I mean, who else would I go to but Nakul, whose heart is, really just incredible. Naveen, again, I feel like there is so few people in India who actually have the kind of comic timing that Naveen does. He's the web world's first big star. His pictures is one of the biggest iconic cult shows in India, and will go down as one, irrespective of how long this goes. And again, I have been really fond of him. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And as I said, I think his acting and his comic timing in particular is just something that anytime you kind of bring him on screen, you can't help but feel for him, laugh with him, and having all these folks together in the film along with Sajal. I mean, it's been a dream cast and a dream crew. I'm so grateful, honestly.
Just listening to this, I hear the chemistry between all of you. It's refreshing. It's like the chemistry that Nakul, you and Naveen had on screen between that. It's no wonder this movie came out so beautifully. Tarun, I'm going to turn to you. You've got a number of films to your credit, even prior to Tasalli. You're both a writer and a director. So you have this extra special, you've seen this from all sides. I imagine the short film you referred to, Nikhil, was Listener. Or was that now? But you've done Listener, same kind of thing. You've done the script, screenplay, dialogues for that anthology, Unpaused. You've written about the gritty side of campus life with all the episodes, series for Jugaristan. What I kind of get from this is you seem to enjoy drawing out the personality of the characters in the story, and clearly you're very good at that. So Tasalli is. What was different, what's special about working on Tasalli from your previous works?
So Tasalli is actually the first project which I haven't written but directed. So that was like a different shift from me. But again, so I was working on my feature when Nikhil brought this subject to me. And I was instantly drawn to it because it was a very human story of two friends who just fall apart with time. And again, as Sajal said, it is very relevant to the times we are living in. And so, I connected to story on apart from the political differences we have and we fought over our friend. I generally realized what happens is in friendship, when you have a difference, today generations is very distinctly, okay, let it go, let it fall apart. They don't try to hold it on or try to work it out and make it a stronger bond than ever. So I thought Tasalli is a scope where I can tell that if you try, you can maintain that friendship despite so many differences. It's not over the times we all have that friendship where differences have come up, not only on the political front, but on the personal front as well.
Sure.
And how you can, it's always very easy to let it go and say, okay, we'll not talk to each other and we'll live separately, we'll live happily. but it takes effort and time to work it on it, accept each other's flaws, accept each other's differences. So initially, when I started with working with Sajal, so I wanted to be very clear what the word Sajal is imagining, what character he is imagining. I remember we had a long discussions about the character of Somesh and Ranjan and how different they are, how similar they are. And once that happened, I got to know how he is imagining those people. And if I could relate to some of my people I have met in life who are very similar to Sumesh and Ranjan, and then bring their nuances to the script to make it what is written and how it can be executed to small gestures. How can I uplift it? So that was the process, and I enjoyed it a lot because at the first place, I was not under the pressure to deliver a good script like Sajal has to. I was just telling him, you can do this, you can do this, I will, you can try this. I was enjoying that the other side of the. Otherwise, I'm in the writing stage and directors are telling me do this, do this, do this. So
Right.
it was a role reversal, and I enjoyed it a lot. This process working with Sajal on the script. And then when the reading started with Nakul and Naveen, we did 2-3 rounds of reading, and so many ideas came from them while they were reading those lines. They were imagining themselves in that character. I still remember the tea shop scene where they talk about the elephant and the story. So
Right.
it actually came from their discussion where Nakul suggested that it should be some anecdotal thing and all. Then Sajal and I worked on it. I thought, what can we do? So it was a very distinct process, and not, of course, the Nikhil. Nikhil is the someone who really believes in this thing. And over the before Tasalli said, I remember Nikhil and I had a chat where we talked about this, that how we are losing friendship in times of this polarization of political ideologies. I remember speaking about that. I remember understanding that why don't we understand that apart from this, there is another side to human as well. So it was a very, very collaborative process, and I enjoyed it a lot.
That clearly shows in the movie. I mean, I just love the way it flows so naturally. And to our audience, guys, when you see this, it's going to take you back to so many of the relationships you have, whether from school, college, or elsewhere. And the same kind of challenges. You're going to relate to this immediately. This is one movie you do not want to miss. Yep. I'm going to move on from that to Nakul and Naveen, both of you. As I said, casting couldn't have done a better job than having you guys as Somesh and Ranjan. You're both extremely strong actors, right? You've got well-established track records, feature, short films, web series, TV, and your experience and talent, it just shines forth in this film. You're the perfect counterfoils for of each other's characters. Now, Naveen, like your character, Ranjan, you continued with theater after engineering college. You opened a theater company, Right Click Entertainment, and you went on with a very successful career acting, directing in films, web series, and commercials. Now, many people remember you as Dulai in Suleimani Kida. That really I see things just taking off after that. I'm sure they've seen your commercials, Vodafone, Mahindra, Coke, whichever way. Nakul, you've got a rich and varied background to draw upon too. People are familiar with you as Ram Kapoor in Bade Achhe Lagte Hain 2, or Shivai Singh Oberoi in Ishqbaz, or even the host of India's Got Talent. But not many people may know that as a trained dancer, you've won gold and silver medals in ballroom dancing. Or like Somesh, you've got an inclination poetry, with your album Poems for Democracy. Now, with both of you, with such rich, diverse backgrounds, what parts of yourself did each of you draw on to bring your character to life so well? And whoever wants to, now, Naveen, I'll start with you. You're on mute. Perfect.
I was thinking it would be better if Nakul starts, actually. I'll also get to see his. Yeah.
Okay. Nakul?
So basically, Naveen abhi tak utha nahi hai, so he's still getting his bearings, and that's why he wants me to start. That's the truth of this.
Chalo, koi nahi.
I'm very
But,
happy.
You guys really know each other really well.
Because of this session, getting to see all these faces, it's been 5-6 months, and because of this Zoom session, I'm very happy to see the faces. So Nakul was the only face that I hadn't seen so far because I'm on the phone.
Okay.
So abhi Nakul jitna मिलेगा अच्छा रहेगा.
नेने साहब आपसे पहले एक संजीदा सवाल पूछना था मुझे. You have any connection with Madhuri Dixit, Nene?
You know, I get asked that question so often, but no, other than sharing a surname or kuch nahi. And call me Shirish.
Shirish. Okay, मैंने सुबह कभी इतनी अंग्रेजी में बात नहीं की, so I might like break into some Hindi. I hope that's okay for you. And
No, please go ahead, do that. Do whatever is comfortable with you. We have the only reason अंग्रेजी में बात कर रहा हूँ is for audiences are not Hindi speaking, but they'll see it with subtitles, and I want them to also enjoy getting.
Wonderful. Firstly, you gave us such a beautiful introduction that while the introduction was going on, I kind of dozed off to sort of understand. अच्छा ये सब भी किया है. तो मैं आपका सवाल नहीं सुन पाया क्योंकि इंट्रोडक्शन में गुम हो गया था.
चलो अच्छा तो आप दोनों की इतनी rich diverse background है, right?
जी.
Which parts did you draw on to create this character of Somesh? Did you draw
Right. Shirish, firstly, I have to tell you that if you see two actors sort of do well, or sort of like the chemistry coming out as it's meant to, I think complete credit of that firstly goes to the script, right? And what the material we're working on. So yes. I don't think Naveen and I can really take much credit for it, except the couple of 3-4 nights we spent working on it, out of which 2 nights we only drank together. But I think it's a material which really shines, and all credit to Sajal and Nikhil, for creating, Nikhil for facilitating this and championing this, because honestly, having known Nikhil for a good 7 years now, at least, I think 6-7 years, 7-8 years, I can sort of strongly vouch for the fact that it comes from his mind and his heart. Very few men, in the arts are as vocal and as kind as and empathetic as he is. In fact, there are times when I've had to, because of his kindness, him and I have got into like a bit of a conversation and dialogue. Where I think where his kindness, sometimes I feel is could also be sort of self-harming. And me and Nikhil have had a very kind dialogue on that as well. But I think it comes from his heart, right? And then it comes from Sajal's mind and his beautiful pen. So जब हमने पढ़ी यार, मैंने तो immediately Nikhil को बोला था ये इतनी खूबसूरत script है. It wasn't because Nikhil was a friend, but it genuinely sort of touched a chord. It's something I feel that I have genuinely faced in my life last few years. I feel because of the polarization which has happened because of the political situation in the country. I feel this increasingly where suddenly अपने बहुत ही नजदीकी लोगों को जिनके विचार थोड़े अलग हैं, कभी-कभार एक you feel differently and you start questioning that you've grown up together, but how can you like see world so differently because of political ideologies, right? Right. So honestly, it was a very personal script for me when I read it. And I think what is very important to note, Shirish, in this is, male gaze in cinema is often men seen in sort of high octane action or like camaraderie, which is like very sort of, tu mera yaar hai, main tera yaar hu. But male gaze can also be sensitive. Male gaze can also, sort of have a sensitivity which may not be very sort of in your face and which may not be celebratory, but which is here. And I think that's what I found beautiful about this script. That's what I found about the way I think Tarun directs this, and Tarun is an extremely, extremely sensitive, मतलब इतना शांत किस्म का इंसान है कि I think a lot of that set the mood for us while we were on set. Like a small example, I think the first day only हमारा बहुत जल्दी 5 बजे की shift थी, but by the time we started canning, it was 8:30 or something, and everyone around, I could sense that let's get on with it. It's a tight schedule, 3 दिन में खत्म करना है. but I could see just Tarun just was able to absorb all of that and still be there, and that kind of helps me and Naveen to sort of do what we did. So I think these three men really are the champions of Tasalli Se. Me and Naveen are like lucky to get hands on to this material, and also in that sense get a chance. Like I was very excited to work with Naveen, and I'm glad that through this we had a solid 5-6 days of hanging out, and I've really enjoyed this process, Sirish.
And touching on that point, you talk about male gaze. This is a universal thing. हो सकता है कि Somesh, Ranjan, gay ho, na ho. They are humans. That was the thing that really comes across. And I love what you said about the script being, if it's a good script, it does so much of the actors work for them. So again, Sajal, fantastic job. Now, Naveen, how about you?
See, I would say that when I got the script, I just, I was attracted to it because of the people associated with it. Honestly, of course, I like the script, and but it was the people that attracted me to this entire project. And honestly, even when we started shooting, or when we started, rehearsing or reading, I was just listening to the instructions and having fun. I was not thinking too much about bringing my past into the part, and I was not really thinking in that direction. I was just trying to follow the text and the instructions, and I was just having fun. And I actually just had a lot of fun, and because of probably those nights that I spent with Nakul drinking, I think that is also a kind of workshop. When you discuss things, when you become close, and when you discuss personal things, I think you break a lot of I would say, it's when you put your guard down, actually that helps in front of camera also, because you get comfortable with your co-actors. And Tarun to I think Tarun is I think one of the biggest reasons why I think we were we were what we were, because he's very comfortable to work with. He's very approachable. You can just talk to him about everything, related to your character. So I think that is very important for me. If I'm able to talk to my director, things just become easier for me to I just want to have fun. If I'm having fun on set, I'll do a good job, and that's I think what happened on the sets of Tasalli Se. I feel, yeah.
I very well expressed out there. I could see there's the old cliche about film should be show, don't tell. All of you came together. Just the little expressions between you and Nakul. And Tarun, you took that script and you saw drawing that out. Even, koi taunt marta hai chai ke bare mein. And you see the reaction. I see your reaction. It's so relatable. Wonderful job, guys. I'm going, and I could talk with you guys all night, but I'm going to go a little bit further and explore another part with you, Nikhil. We are especially lucky, as I said at the start, that we've got all these different facets. One thing I want to make sure I touch upon is in bringing stories like this, Nikhil, you've got a mission there with Yuva, right? To capture that youth. Here again, we're talking about Gen X, Gen Z, young people. How do they react? Sajal talks about तोड़ना बहुत आसान है, जोड़ना और जोड़ के रखना बहुत मुश्किल है. And it becomes easier for us, especially in this world of like social dilemma, social media. We get into our echo chambers, which you go beyond. And you're helping to break down those echo chambers. Tell us a little bit about what Yuva does and how you go about selecting these kind of films and forwarding the conversation.
First of all, again, I think I'll repeat what Nakul said. You've just said such beautiful things about all of us and the work that we do. Thank you so much, Shirish. It means a lot. I'm very fortunate that we have two films at DC SAF, and we spoke at Gray as well about what UA does, and I'll just repeat myself quickly. UA started as a company that would come at the intersection of what is important and what is interesting. How do we make important things interesting for young people? How do we use storytelling and entertainment to talk about urgent issues in a language that is accessible to young people? Because I feel like, unfortunately, anytime we are having conversations, whether over here about polarization, whether in Gray about consent, most of these conversations are done in a slightly more academic manner, or are done in a angry way. Sometimes they're done on the internet during fights. But I believe in UA's mission and UA's politics. I always say is empathy. Can we use empathy to kind of have conversations? Because we've always divided our world into us and them, but it's all us. Yeah. The more you hear each other's stories, and I think that's the key. The moment you break down your guards and share vulnerability, share stories with each other, it all becomes us. And I feel like that's what this film does. I feel like what Sajal has beautifully written, what Tarun has beautifully directed, and Nakul and Naveen have come together. It is a very empathetic setup. It is through the moments in the film, through the unsaid, and that was something that Tarun always used to say. That and that's what he said that what I love about this script is the fact that there is a lot more that goes unsaid than that is said, and it is in those moments that you feel for the characters, you recognize the humanity, you see the empathy, and that's what you want to do at Viva, honestly. Whether it is these two films, there is a bunch of other stuff we are doing with Amazon Mini TV came on board for this one. We're working with Amazon Prime on a series right now. There's a bunch of other things we're doing, and in all of them, the aim is, can we just reach out to the hearts and minds of people, especially young people, who anyway have a lot of pressure. There's so much noise in the world right now. It's so difficult sometimes to hear the sound of your own voice, in your head. There's just that much noise. So in that kind of a world with just so much going on, can we slow things down and kind of have kinder conversations, as Nakul was also saying, but obviously in using entertainment and storytelling as its key, because again, we don't want to be boring. So that's really the intent. I'm just, as I said, really grateful to have been in the company of these wonderful folks over here who happen to be men. And I feel like, just like Tasalli say, it was so nice to have a setup of like a bunch of like empathetic men, who are just spending time in each other's company, and just really like saying I love you to each other, which doesn't happen at this age, that much. So yeah, I'm really grateful, honestly.
As I listen to this, I see a lot of the work you do with UA. And I'm going to do a little shout out to someone else who's very self-effacing, not coming out. And that's Manoj Singh and Geeta Singh. They have brought so many different voices and brought them to the community out here. Those voices don't, as I said at the start, they don't have to agree, but it's important for us to hear sabki suno. You may agree, may not agree, but have that respect for each other. Or jo dialogue hona chahiye, tasalli se hona chahiye. You've done a fantastic. I hope all of you continue to bring forward your talent to the world, and for very selfish reasons to DCSAFF, because we love having people like you out here. You have friends, you have other people, bring them over. This is a great festival. You're a great set of filmmakers, all of you. It is my pleasure to have this dialogue with you guys. To our audience, again, this is a film you don't want to miss. Very timely, right for our times. We can all learn from it, and we can come that much closer together. A big thank you to our sponsors, who for the last 12 years have been making this festival possible and bringing it to this community in the DC metro area. Last but definitely not least, the organizers of DCSAFF. It is a huge amount of work bringing a festival together. And they do it tirelessly. They do it smoothly and so well. Thank you for your hard work. Manoj, Geeta, all the volunteers who make DCSAFF possible. the most important of all, our audience. Without you, there would be no festival. And all these artists, at the end of the day, they're looking for someone to communicate with, to connect with, and you make it possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our
for having
pleasure.
me.
Thank you.